Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to introduce our presentation on the profound teachings of righteousness and character. Today, we'll explore authentic sayings from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that highlight the essence of good character and inner peace. We'll look at how righteousness is reflected in our actions and how inner tranquility guides us in making the right choices. In just a few slides, I'll share key insights and beautiful narrations that can inspire us all to strengthen our moral compass. Let's get started. In this slide, we see that Ibn Uthaymeen offers an interpretation of this part of the Hadith, suggesting that good character is one aspect of righteousness. But I want to emphasize that this interpretation might not fully capture the essence of what the Prophet is conveying. What it seems, instead, is that the phrase should be understood more like other well-known expressions, such as the pilgrimage is Arafah or the religion is Nasiha. In these cases, the phrase points to the main or most essential aspect of the broader concept. So when the Prophet says, righteousness is good character, he's highlighting that good character isn't just one part of righteousness, it's the core, the heart of what righteousness truly means. This helps us understand that, in our faith, cultivating good character is fundamental. It's what defines true righteousness in the eyes of Allah. And as we continue through this presentation, keep in mind how central good character is, not just as a virtue, but as the very essence of living a righteous life. Today, I want to talk about the concept of birr, which is a very important idea in our faith. The word birr actually has two main meanings. The first meaning is about treating others well, especially our parents. When we speak of birr al-walidain, we're referring to showing kindness, respect, and good manners toward our parents, doing our best to honor them and care for them. But the word birr isn't limited to just that. It also has a broader sense. It includes behaving well toward everyone, not just our parents. It's about embodying good character and kindness in all our interactions. Now, the second meaning of birr is about our acts of worship and obedience to Allah. It encompasses both inward intentions and outward actions. So, when we think of birr in this sense, we're talking about living a life that is upright and obedient to Allah, through prayer, charity, and good deeds. In essence, birr is about righteousness, doing what is right in the eyes of Allah and showing kindness to others. It's a key part of our overall spiritual and moral development, connecting our relationship with Allah and our relationships with people around us. Today, I want to talk about the concept of khuluq, or character, and how it's understood in a broader sense. Typically, we think of khuluq in three main categories. First, our behavior with respect to the Creator, which involves our faith and worship. Second, our conduct with other humans, encompassing how we treat family, friends, and community. And third, how we treat ourselves, including self-respect and self-control. However, I'd like to highlight that Islam also teaches us to consider two additional important categories. The first is our khuluq with all other creatures Allah has created, animals, insects, and all living beings. The second is our khuluq with the earth itself and all of its natural resources. Even though these last two categories are sometimes overlooked, they are equally guided by Islamic principles. They remind us that our character isn't just about how we relate to people or ourselves, but also involves our responsibilities toward the environment and other living beings. So, when we speak of al-khuluq, or character, it's a comprehensive concept that encompasses all of these relationships. It's about embodying kindness, respect, and responsibility in every aspect of our interactions, whether with our Creator, fellow humans, animals, or the environment. This understanding helps us see that good character is truly holistic and aligned with the values Islam teaches us. This slide is about the concept of khuluq, or character, and how it encompasses multiple categories that together shape a person's overall personality. All of these categories are essential components of a person's khuluq, and to truly have good khuluq, one must develop and maintain excellence in all of them. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, emphasized in many hadiths, having good khuluq isn't just about excelling in one area, it's about being consistent across all categories. For example, showing kindness, patience, humility, and integrity in every aspect of life. Most importantly, among these categories, the one that holds the highest significance is our behavior with respect to the Creator. This foundational relationship influences and guides how we interact with others and develop our character overall. Now, when we talk about the meaning of al-khuluq or character, we're really discussing the inner qualities that define us, our morals, virtues, and how we embody them in daily actions. It's a holistic concept that reflects our true nature and our commitment to living in accordance with Islamic principles. So, understanding and cultivating good khuluq in all these categories, especially in our relationship with Allah, is central to our spiritual growth and our overall character. Today, I want to talk about the concept of sin, or itham, as it's sometimes called, and how it's defined. Sin is essentially an act for which the person performing it deserves blame and censure. Al-Haytami emphasizes that sin covers all kinds of evil deeds, whether they are big or small. In the Hadith, the Prophet, peace be upon him, highlights two very important signs of a sin. The first sign is internal. It's a feeling within the soul. This is the emotional or spiritual response we have when we think about or commit a sin. It's an internal indicator, a kind of conscience that signals to us that something may be wrong. The second sign also relates to internal feelings, but it's about the outward reaction to the act itself. When someone commits a sin, their inner feelings often cause a sense of unease or discomfort. Sin, in essence, disturbs the peace of a pure heart. It makes the soul uneasy and troubled because it's aware, on some level, of the wrongdoing. This internal unrest is significant because it shows that sin affects more than just actions. It impacts our inner state. A wholesome soul, free from sin, feels peaceful. But once sin is committed, that peace is disturbed, and the soul becomes worried about the consequences. Finally, a beautiful way to understand this is through the saying, "Sin is that which wavers in your soul and which you dislike people finding out about." It highlights that true sin is not just about external actions, but also about the internal feelings, the discomfort and disapproval we have when we know we've done wrong and don't want others to see it. Connecting this to our overall theme, it reminds us that sin is deeply internal, and recognizing these signs can help us stay mindful of our actions, ensuring our hearts remain pure and at peace. This slide highlights one of the many miraculous acts of the Prophet, peace be upon him. It shows how Allah granted him knowledge of what Wabasa was going to ask even before he spoke. Interestingly, Wabasa hadn't discussed this matter with the Prophet before. According to the narration in Ahmad, the Prophet, peace be upon him, invited Wabasa to come closer, and he sat with his knees against the Prophet's knees, creating a sense of closeness and trust. The Prophet then asked him, "Shall I not inform you of what it is you are going to ask me?" Wabasa confirmed that he had come to inquire about righteousness and sinfulness. This moment demonstrates the Prophet's divine knowledge and his compassionate approach to guiding people toward understanding what is good and what is sinful. It connects to our overall theme of divine guidance and the importance of seeking knowledge with sincerity. This slide is from 2026 by Continuous Learning Development, and it highlights some powerful teachings about the heart. What's really important here is that many verses and hadiths emphasize how vital the heart is, especially when it comes to purification and spiritual growth. You see, the heart isn't just a physical organ. It's considered the core of our faith and moral compass. It's the true key to salvation, meaning that if we nurture and purify our hearts, we're on the right path towards spiritual success. The phrase, "consult your heart," is a reminder for us to listen inwardly, to reflect on what our heart is guiding us toward. In the context of this presentation, it ties back to the overall theme that inner purity and sincerity are essential for true progress and connection with the divine. So always remember, your heart is not just a metaphor. It's a vital tool for guiding your actions and your faith journey. In this slide, we see a powerful hadith from the Prophet, peace be upon him, that discusses the nature of righteousness and sin. He says, "Righteousness is that which makes the soul feel tranquil and the heart feel tranquil." This highlights that true righteousness brings peace and calmness to both our inner self and our emotional state. He then contrasts this with sin, describing it as something that causes the soul to waver and the breast to feel uneasy. So sin disturbs our inner peace and creates discomfort within us. An interesting point here is that the prophet mentions both the soul and the breast, which we often interpret as the heart. They are mentioned sequentially for emphasis, showing how interconnected our spiritual and emotional states are. Ibn Rajah adds that this part of the Hadith indicates that Allah has created us with an innate disposition, a natural fitra, to recognize what is true, feel comfortable with it, and accept it. Essentially, our pure nature loves the truth and despises its opposite, which is falsehood or sin. So, the key takeaway is that righteousness aligns with our natural inclination towards truth and peace, while sin disrupts that harmony, causing inner turmoil. This recurring theme reminds us how vital it is to nurture our inner state through righteousness, aligning ourselves with our divine fitra and maintaining tranquility in our hearts. Let's take a closer look at this important concept. The phrase, copyright 2026 by continuous learning development, highlights that the people have given their verdict repeatedly. This means that even if the community or scholars endorse a certain act as permissible through religious rulings, it doesn't necessarily mean it's free of any issues. What's crucial here is understanding that personal feelings also matter. Even if the majority or authorities say an act is okay, if a person feels uneasy about doing it, then it might still be considered a sin for them. This shows the importance of individual conscience and comfort in religious matters. For example, in some cases, the people might not object to an act, but the individual himself feels that it's wrong or uncomfortable. In such situations, he should avoid that act, because his own feeling of unease indicates that it may not be suitable for him or might be sinful for him personally. So the key point is that the verdict or approval from the community isn't the final word for everyone. The individual's feelings and conscience are also vital, and if there's any doubt or discomfort, it's better to abstain. This connects to our overall theme, which emphasizes personal responsibility and the importance of inner peace in practicing our faith. Always remember, religious rulings are guidance, but personal sincerity and comfort are equally important in ensuring our actions are genuinely aligned with our faith. The main or essential aspect of righteousness is good character. Or, in other words, righteousness really boils down to having good character. When we talk about sin, it's important to understand its impact on the heart. Sin directly affects a pious person's heart, making the soul uneasy and wavering. It creates a sense of discomfort that can shake one's inner peace. Another key sign of sin is that a person tends to dislike having others witness the act. There's an internal hesitation, a reluctance to be seen doing something wrong. This inward feeling is an important indicator. As believers, we should always consult our hearts before we perform any deed. If, during this reflection, our heart feels uncomfortable or uneasy about a certain act, that's a clear sign to avoid it, regardless of what others might say or judge. Sometimes, people might give verdicts that an act is permissible, but our inner sense of conscience should be our guide. To sum up the Hadith, the essence is that righteousness is fundamentally linked to good character, and sin creates inner discomfort that reveals itself through feelings of unease and a desire for privacy. This internal check is vital for maintaining sincerity and integrity in our actions.